I think that these budget-priced hand-tech oscilloscopes make a lot of sense for do-it-yourself mechanics. I like to power them with the HScope app that can be found on the Google Play Store. That app just got better with the release of a new feature that allows you to use custom probes. To understand the significance of that new feature, I need to remind you that an oscilloscope is basically a voltmeter on steroids. And that's all it does, is that it can measure volts, but it does it very fast. And it has the ability to plot the reading on a horizontal time scale, and the vertical scale is always volts. What if you want to measure amps and you used an amp clamp? Well, the amp clamp produces millivolts and volts that the oscilloscope can easily read. But you as a user would have to try and mentally convert this vertical voltage scale as to what amperage that represented. And that's the beauty of the new development on HScope, is that it allows you to select from a list of presets the probe that you're using and have the vertical scale display in the units of that probe. It saves a lot of mental calculations, if you will. So if you're using the 65 amp clamp from Handtech, you would be able to go within HScope, go into the probe selection, and you would see that it's an available preset. You would select it, and now on the vertical scale, it's amperage that's displayed, and to the right multiple of, in this case, on the low range setting of the CC65. There's a preset for the high range of the C65, and there's also two other presets for the 650 amp Handtech clamp in the low and the high range. It's very, very handy stuff. You guys will also remember some videos that I use these pressure sensors, and I've made pressure transducers from them. They work between 0.5 volts and 4.5 volts, and you have a multiplier and everything else. And to do this mentally is also kind of tricky. It'd be nice to have it display in its PSI units as well. So there again, with this new feature in HScope, you can go and select the 300 PSI probe, and it's all done for you. Of course, the oscilloscope is still just reading volts, but HScope now behind the scenes is doing the calculation for us, and it's able to display in the units and the proper value on the vertical scale. So it's all very handy. What if the probe you're using is not in the list of presets? In gadgets number 20, I made this custom probe that uses a 1/3 ohm shunt resistor. The voltage drop across that resistor represents the amperage draw through the circuit. This new feature that's been added to HScope with custom probes allows me to create my own. To create a new probe, I just go into Settings, Probes, New. From there I would name it. How about calling it 0.33 shunt. That kind of describes that probe. There are no offsets to that probe. The multiplier for that probe would be 3. And the units would be in amps, and I would save it. So now the list of available probes would now include the newly created 0.33 shunt. I select it. You'll notice that the vertical scale is now in amps, and it would calculate the multiplier. And as I would use this custom probe, I would get the correct value in the correct units and save me all of this background calculation. I just love it. So HScope, which was always a great app for these budget-priced oscilloscopes, has just now gotten better. Thanks for watching, guys.